Check one, two. Check one, two. I look great too, in addition to sounding great, right? Okay, awesome. Yeah, check one, two. Check one, two. Awesome.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Welcome. Before we begin today, I want to begin by remembering our fallen officers. We've lost our 5th law enforcement officer this year. Deputy Brandon Cunningham with the Paulding County Sheriff's Office will be laid to rest this afternoon, who gave the last full measure of devotion to his community and state. Please pray for his children and family, for his fiancée, for his community, and for their department as they struggle with this unimaginable loss. And as we are here this morning, Deputy Taylor Bristow from the Carroll County Sheriff's Office is right up the road at Grady Hospital battling for his life. It has never been more difficult to serve as a first responder and specifically a law enforcement officer. And in Georgia, we unapologetically back the blue and support the men and women who serve us in uniform. Today we are here, though, to talk about the findings for the Fulton County Jail Subcommittee. You've gotten a copy of the draft report, and the reason why it is a draft report is because due to our Senate rules, when we return to legislative session in January, we will formally adopt that report. However, we didn't want any more time to lapse, so the recommendations that were put together could be enacted and further steps of remediation could take place. Let's begin by the reason why we formed this committee. Back last year, we all watched with great concern at some of the tragedies that had been unfolding at the Fulton County Jail. Senator Robertson and I went and visited the jail and made sure that what we were seeing on the news matched some of the concerns that were actually in the jail itself. I want to make sure we clarify, as we have in the past, that jails are not prisons. They are very different. When someone is arrested and booked into the jail, those crimes, they are actually innocent until proven guilty by our system of government. The Georgia Senate was listening to constituents, to people that were involved directly and indirectly with that, and we wanted to take a heads-on approach in investigating and solving this major concern. As a Fulton County resident myself, I've had the honor to serve for the past 14 years, and I shared the concerns of my fellow citizens, elected leaders, and we wanted to have something done as quick as possible. With that, I assigned a public safety subcommittee to complete a deep dive investigation into the issues, root causes, and most importantly, the solutions. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who supported us and appointed 2 ex officio members of the committee to complete this very important task. And I want to take a moment to talk about these committee members and why they were so important. First, Senator Tim Bearden, who served on the committee, has a background as a law enforcement officer and was also the director of the Georgia Public Safety Training Center in his past. Senator Chuck Payne, who served for over 3 decades as a juvenile probation officer, and he chairs our Veterans and Homeland Security Committee. I served as a member of this committee. And we had 2 ex officio members, Senator Sonia Halpern, who's the chair of the Fulton County Senate delegation, and Senator Brian Strickland, who is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And perhaps most importantly, the majority whip of the state Senate, Senator Randy Robertson, who serves as the vice chairman of the Senate Public Safety Committee and was gracious enough to be the chairman of this important subcommittee. There is no one more qualified in the entire Georgia Capitol than Senator Robertson. As a retired major from the Muskogee County Sheriff's Office, he's actually operated a jail before, and a very large one. He's very talented, has an extraordinary detailed approach, and with his experience and the way he put this committee together, I knew it would be a success from the moment we started. Since the first meeting last fall, there are 1,000 less inmates in the Fulton County Jail. Let me say that again. Since we began meeting last fall, there are over 1,000 less inmates in the Fulton County Jail. This is very measurable and substantial progress that needs to be reported. It's important to note that no sheriff in the state of Georgia can control the population of his or her jail. That is exclusively from moving through the process of the judiciary and prosecution. I'm proud of the comprehensive 17 recommendations that you have in front of you right now to continue the improvement and ultimately to solve this issue permanently. But one of the recommendations, which I believe is perhaps the most important, is the relationship, the professionalism, and teamwork between the 4 areas that will ultimately solve this problem, which is the county commission, the district attorney, the judges, and the sheriff. Working together in concert, in teamwork, with a professional front, will be the first step into solving any problem, no matter it be in government or anywhere else. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Senator Robertson, who will give you an update of the findings that you see before you. When we're done, we'll take a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Albers, and I'm going to be very brief. You each have a copy of the draft report in front of you, and we're more than prepared to answer any questions that you may have in relation to the 17 recommendations. As Chairman Albers said, he and I had the opportunity to tour the Fulton County Jail, and I want to start off by thanking the sheriff and his staff for being very accommodating. There was not a single door that we were not allowed to walk through. We walked into some of the nicest parts of the Fulton County Jail, and if you've never been in a jail, take my word for it, there are nice parts. And we walked through some of the parts that were the not quite as nice. We walked amongst the individuals there charged with lesser nonviolent crimes, and we walked amongst those who were charged with the most violent crimes. And the fear of a jail should not exist, because what it holds are other citizens of our community. And what we found as we walked through the jail, and no matter who we engaged with, no matter what they were charged with, or no matter what the job assignment was of those personnel of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, we received full cooperation while we were there. I had somebody ask me what the jail looked like. I worked in a large jail. I guess it depends on what your definition of pretty is, but when we walked through the jail, the Fulton County Jail looked like a jail. It was very clean, but it was not attractive because they have to maintain that building with a full staff and full population of citizens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so while trying to maintain something, keeping something polished, keeping something clean with a small city operating within the walls is somewhat difficult. But I do want to thank the sheriff and his team for cooperating. I want to thank the county commission. I want to thank the district attorney's office, and I want to thank the Fulton County Judiciary for being responsive and coming to our committee, sitting in the chair and answering the questions. I think the importance of a study committee is to do what you're supposed to do that is in the title, and that is study. That is to look at. We're not there to drag any soul to the top of Golgotha and crucify them. We were to find out facts and determine what needed to be done or what could be done by the state legislature, or to notify the county commission, the judiciary, the sheriff, or the district attorney's office, things that we realized based on testimony that were either successes or failures within the Fulton County Jail. And at the age of 22, I started in law enforcement, and in the sheriff's office I started out in, or that I did my entire 30-year career in, everybody starts out in the county jail. I walked in at midnight one night wearing a new uniform and a pair of penny loafers because I didn't know what kind of shoes you were supposed to wear in a county jail. And I'll go ahead and tell you, penny loafers are not the kind of shoes you want to wear in a county jail. But I received an education at the age of 22 while the frontal lobe of my brain was still developing by working in a county jail. I saw some of the most tragic things I'd ever seen in my life. I saw individuals that took their lives. I saw men and women who made terrible choices in their life, and I had to serve those individuals while I was in there while keeping myself and my fellow officers safe. And it was an education I will be thankful for forever. But as we went through this committee process, what I found is that a county jail is a county jail is a county jail. we have them throughout the state of Georgia. And as unique as Atlanta and Fulton County likes to think it is, their county jail has the same issues that every county jail in the state of Georgia has. And the primary issue I think you'll see in the recommendations is the dysfunction that exists between county agencies. The same dysfunction at times that exists between state agencies when individuals forget who the boss is. And the boss is the man and woman in the car today driving around Atlanta, driving from home to work, who pay taxes, who want to live in a safe community where when individuals violate the law, they are arrested according to the Georgia and United States Constitution. They are detained in their local county jail until they can post bond or until they can have their case adjudicated. And for that to work properly, the sheriff has to get along with the county commission, who has to get along with the judiciary, who has to get along with the district attorney. And each one of those individuals must do their job the way they are required to do their job, the way the law says they must do their job. And it is no longer an argument that I am a constitutional officer as to why things aren't done. We had full cooperation from every agency involved, but what we found is that there are breakdowns in the system. And when I'm talking about the system, I'm talking about in the judiciary, in the district attorney's office primarily. The sheriff's responsibility, and I am not going to lessen the power nor responsibility of a sheriff's office, but the sheriff's responsibility is to operate in a building that he or she does not own and taking care of an at-risk population that has shown in the past, the vast majority, that they have no respect for the rules and no respect for other individuals' properties. And he is to do that based on the rules laid out by the Georgia Constitution and the United States Constitution. And if he is not provided or she is not provided with the proper funding or equipment, then he or she cannot do their job. The Fulton County Commission, as every other county commission's job, is to fund a county jail and to provide the necessary resources needed to maintain it up to a constitutional level. For the Fulton County Commission and any other county commission in the state of Georgia to do that, they must have a working relationship and full cooperation, and they must be allowed to keep their eyes on every tax penny that goes into that jail each and every day. And what we have discovered in Fulton County, it doesn't always work that way. The sheriff, the county commission, the district attorney, and the judges must work together. In the courts, we have found that the Fulton County court system, based on the testimony we heard, is not working at 100%. That is unacceptable. It's unacceptable primarily because of the individuals being held in the Fulton County jails, rights to due process, and rights to a system that does not allow them to languish in a county jail. The judiciary must take responsibility for it, and they must correct it. And what we've discovered in the district attorney's office is dysfunction to where cases are being moved entirely too slow. There are no efforts that we saw being made to expedite beyond the normal process. This must be changed. Again, when a man or woman is arrested and placed into a county jail, even if they post bond and get out or stay in the county jail, they have a right to a due process system that does not cause them any harm outside of the requirements of the Georgia Constitution and the United States Constitution. So to sum it up, there's plenty of blame to go around. When we first walked into this, it seemed like all the focus was in one direction. I hope as you read through this report, and I hope if you have any questions, that we'll be able to show you that that was not the only place that needed to be looked at when it comes to the Fulton County Jail. And some of the things that some individuals felt was the most important thing going on in the Fulton County Jail happen on every street, every block, and in many of the homes here in Fulton County and around the state of Georgia every day. The Fulton County Jail just happens to be a place where it's all bottled up, and it seems to get more attention than those other places. And I would personally like to see the attention spread out equally everywhere to take a look at, so that we as a community and we as a General Assembly can solve some of these problems. And again, I can't thank Chairman Albers enough for the confidence he placed in me, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones for the confidence he placed in this subcommittee, and I look forward to answering any questions you have today, and we look forward to the next challenge, which will start at 9 o'clock this morning. So thank you.
Do you think that county should build a new jail or fix what we have?
I think that is up to the sheriff and the county commissioners to do their homework and to work with what they believe is the right answer and what the taxpayers expect of them.
And if I could add, I think it has to be based on data. It has to be based on facts. The subject matter expert in the room today is the Fulton County Sheriff, where he can tell you how many individuals in his jail are there and are suffering from particular issues, whether it's mental health issues and other things, and to determine if a reformed county jail as it exists, say Rice Street, if they're able to build to accommodate for that population. But if they're not able to build to accommodate for that, then I think probably the option would be a brand-new facility to accommodate.
Let me add one more thing to that before we take the next question. You will see in this report that we're calling on the city of Atlanta to immediately turn over the entire Atlanta Detention Center to the county. Fulton County taxpayers paid for that facility and building. Anyone that thinks that that's going to become a community center one day, I think is seriously on a wrong track right now. It was designed and built to be a jail, and having a newer building and facility that can be leveraged to the fullest extent, not just partially as today, is certainly part of the right answer. And I'm confident that my friends down at City Hall will do the right thing. Yes, sir.
Do you foresee any general or local laws that you're going to try to pass in the next session based off this report, and what might those be?
As we continue to move forward, including a new study committee that's going to start here just in a short amount of time, I believe we're going to take the aggregate of all that information and then determine what needs to be done from a state level. Most of the things that you will see in this report are operational things that can be done by folks working together and getting things done as we would normally run a business. But at this time, I think it's a bit too early to tell of how we're going to come out to the 2025 legislative session.
You mentioned 9 o'clock, the real work begins. What is the next step with all of this? These recommendations are out?
Well, no, 9 o'clock is our next study committee on Georgia Department of Corrections, which walks hand in hand with our county jails, because Georgia Department of Corrections has a huge responsibility to help alleviate some of the overcrowding of some of the most dangerous once their cases are adjudicated. So, but the real work here in this report rests with some of the men and women in this room, for them to look at this and to go ahead and look. The process has already started. We've already seen where some relationships have come to light, to where individuals with the same mission in mind are starting to partner up and try to solve some of these problems. And Fulton County is blessed with some very strong and professional public safety individuals and some very dedicated and intelligent commission members. And I think these men and women are smart enough to be able to sit around a table and realize that their obligation is not to each other as much as it is to the population of Fulton County.
Yes, sir.
How do you square applauding a reduction in the jail population with the passage of SB 63, which would increase the jail population, increase the number of people who are going to need help?
And how does 63 increase the jail population?
Well, on the one hand, you're applauding a reduction in the jail population
Mhm.
of Fulton County. On the other hand, the legislature has passed a bill that is going to increase.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what data you're using to say that 63 is going to increase jail population, because when 63 was written, a lot of the research that was found was discovered that it did not increase the jail population. What it actually did was decrease crime. But how you marry up the two, the reason there is a reduction right now, I would argue, is because the system has started getting more efficient. Because during the testimony in this committee, it became very apparent early on that there was dysfunction in the systems that were being driven by personalities and not by software or anything else. And people started actually focusing more, doing their jobs. And actually they were doing this after 63's original legislation had already done what you're talking about. And what you're talking about is bail bond reform, correct? Yes, sir.
So are y'all saying that you think that this decrease in the jail population is due to this study committee and the fact that you embarrassed these people?
No, we certainly didn't say that, but I believe, like anything else, when you put a little sunshine on something, it tends to get people to look at things differently. And I think you've seen the courts working with weekend court and night courts and moving cases a lot faster than they have in the past. I think you've seen the same from the district attorney's office. This is never an intent to embarrass someone. The purpose of this was to get to the root cause of the problem. But as we stand here, there are 1,000 less people in the Fulton County Jail. And that is measurable, it is substantial, and it is worth reporting on.
We've got time for one more question, guys.
Yes, ma'am?
Senator, we saw news earlier this week about contraband smuggling inside Fulton County Jail. Are you hopeful that these recommendations can help prevent similar issues in the future?
Contraband in any jail or prison is an ongoing battle and challenge. That will never change. The issues we've had at the Fulton County Jail was built to be a single bunked facility, which very shortly became double bunked and then became overcrowded. In order to manage and maintain and hold security when something is already 2 and 2.5 times more the capacity was designed to do, makes the prevalence of weapons and other contraband certainly more capable than they would be in other areas. But this is a challenge we face throughout every jail, throughout every prison, and not just here in Georgia. It's happening across the nation. And by using new tools, new technology, better processes, we hope to continue to curb that as much as possible. As Senator Robertson mentioned, you have to remember that inside a jail and inside a prison are either someone who has been arrested and or now fully convicted of breaking the law. These are folks that do not follow the rules, then a lot of times have very violent tendencies. And we need to do everything possible to keep, first and foremost, the people who are operating that jail safe, as well as everyone else who is inside it. I think we're going to wrap up at this point. Thank you all so much for coming today. We appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be able to talk to a few folks after this press conference is over. Have a wonderful day.